Hello everybody. If you haven't been to my channel before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books, so I like to talk about the books that I read. And today's book is War Doctor, Surgery on the Front Line by David Nott. It took me longer than usual to read this one. I was doing it a chapter at a time because there was a lot to digest in each chapter. So I'd read it and then I'd put it down and really think about what I was reading. And you'll understand that when I read the blurb. For more than 25 years, David Nott has taken unpaid leave from his job as a general and vascular surgeon with the NHS to volunteer in some of the world's most dangerous war zones. From Sarajevo under siege in 1993 to clandestine hospitals in rebel-held eastern Aleppo, he's carried out life-saving operations in the most challenging conditions. Driven both by the desire to help others and the thrill of extreme personal danger, he is widely acknowledged to be the most experienced trauma surgeon in the world. Experience he now passes on to other doctors so they too can save lives threatened by bombs and bullets. War Doctor is his extraordinary story. It is extraordinary, this story. And it's not just, and as I said, it's not a story. It's not fiction. It's very real. And it even says in the book how inspiring this book is. It says, brave, compassionate and inspiring. This book should be in every single house. And that's a comment from Adam Kay, the author of This Is Going to Hurt, which is one of the books that I looked at in my Christmas books when I was doing a book every day for Christmas. And I don't know what to say about this book because it really did take me on a journey mentally. Obviously it's graphic. He's a surgeon and he's talking about surgery, so if you are squeamish about stuff like that, if you can't read about stuff like that, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to read, because he talks about some very horrible things that he went through and had to see, and the operations that he did do, the conditions that he had to work in, going to places where he was the most experienced surgeon and he had to go into people who were already in Aleppo and saying, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but can we try this another way? Because he was seeing things and just when he was just there saying, these people don't have to die. It's a very, very hard-hitting book, this is, because, it says in the title, Surgery on the Front Line. He was doing surgery in war zones where hospitals were targets, and the amount of near-death experiences this man had while he was overseas and, trying to save people's lives. And this is on both sides, by the way. So, when you're a doctor, there's no biases against anybody. You just help the people who come to you. He was treating the people who were bombing people. He was treating people who had been bombed. And you see his journey with originally not having anybody to come home to, so he was able to offer his services more and more and more, to the point when he met his wife and he wasn't able to do as much overseas, and so he started doing more from home. It talks about the charity he and his wife set up to train doctors, so the surgeons and doctors are getting training from one of the best surgeons in the world, and it's just such an experience to read this book. I don't want to say too much about it because I think it's one of those books that you do just have to read it. There's also the fact that this man has fought to have his story heard and other people's stories heard who obviously have aliases, because it is about protecting them, whether they are still out there and still trying to save people's lives but also putting themselves at immense risk, which is what David Nott did when he went overseas. The amount of times they had to hide him because he was a target. He talks about bits where he was had to hide in the back of a car when one of their tyres went. Originally he was supposed to be helping keep the car up so they could replace the tyre, and then ISIS kind of stopped them. He had to hide first behind the car and then in the car while ISIS were kind of interrogating the rest of his team, going, what are you doing here, what are you doing here? And then they accidentally dropped the car, and that was when the ISIS members realised, oh, you're fixing your car. The experiences he went through, and it even goes through his PTSD from after he came home, and he realised he wasn't processing everything that he'd seen. At first glance you think, hang on a second, he's a doctor, why does he have PTSD? And it's because he was a doctor in hospitals that were being targeted. You know, the amount of surgeries he did where he was living in fear, you know, when there were bombs being dropped outside, and he just carried on, and he was just there thinking, am I going to die today? And yeah, it gave me a newfound respect for doctors and anybody who is working or volunteering in a war-torn country, because, I mean, obviously there was a respect there already, but at the same time, before I didn't have this insider knowledge, because obviously he's sharing so many different stories. There's obviously funny bits in there. There's a bit where he talks about doing his pilot's licence with 2 pairs of glasses on, and that the guy who was testing him hadn't seen that before. Because there's a point when he's talking about that, and he said that once he passed, the guy who was controlling his test said, I've never seen anybody do their test with 2 pairs of glasses on the end of their nose, and that made me laugh hearing that, because I could just see it in my mind, just a guy with 2 glasses at the end of his nose. But yeah, it's just such an incredible story, an incredible book, and I agree, it should be in every single house. Everybody should read this book to realise what he did, and still does, for war-torn countries, and the training, and realising how he could help. Because it started him going in and doing the surgery, then it came to the point when he was just like, I can use my experience to teach people how to save more lives, and then that ultimately became a charity. And there were some things in here where it was just like, should I remember this? Because he talks about being on television and doing stuff where he was saving children from Syria, and I was just like, did I see that on the news? Do I remember that? Yes, he's been doing this for 25 years, and that's amazing. So yeah, it's a different book today, but it's such an incredible read, and as I said, you know, I did it chapter by chapter just so I could really process it. Yeah, I think it's going to take me a while to process this. I mean, I finished this book reading this today. As with my other book reviews, I just wanted to get it on camera straight away as well as processing it, so you can hear me processing it, basically. Yeah, so it's War Doctor, Surgery on the Front Line by David Nott. This is the front cover. Yeah, such an incredible, inspiring piece of non-fiction about a man who has just dedicated so much of his life to helping people, and it's incredible. War Doctor, Surgery on the Front Line by David Nott, and there's also a chapter done by his wife just talking about him, and it's just, he's such an incredible man. Born to a Welsh mother and an Indian father. Yeah, it's such an incredible book, and I think that's all I have to say. So thank you so much for watching. Yeah, so if you want to read the book, I'll pop a link. It'll probably be an Amazon link, but this is the front cover of the book, so you know what you're looking for if you want to find it by yourself. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Debbie. I upload every single Wednesday. So the next book I'm reading is The Life and Times of Jimmy Cozier, Caribbean newspaperman and autobiography. And this is a man who was a writer in like Barbados and the West Indies, and it's really interesting because I'm not sure if I've ever said it on here. I'm actually daughter to an immigrant. My mother was born in Trinidad, my grandparents were from Barbados, and so I've already read a couple of chapters of this, and it's so weird to see how much I recognise so far. It's just like, wow, I know where he's talking about, which is weird to think. But you know, Barbados is in my family, it's in my blood, and yeah, it's really interesting to read about that, and I'd love to actually get more books on Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago and the West Indies, because I just think it's so interesting and it's part of my family. So yeah, that's the next book. Yeah, so thanks for watching. My name is Debbie. I upload videos every single Wednesday, and I'll see you next week for another video, and don't forget to subscribe. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for another video.